You line up on the first tee, you make the same swing you have made for 30 years, and the ball just dies. 30 yards shorter than it used to fly, same clubs, same effort, same you, and every round it seems to get a little worse. I live that. I stood on my home course 2 summers ago, 62 years old, watching a guy half my age smash it past my drive by 50 yards, and I told myself I had simply gotten old. That was the lie. When I finally tested this the right way, I got back 22 yards of carry without changing my swing, my clubs, or my body. I just changed one thing almost nobody over 60 pays attention to. Here is what shook me. The knowledge that fixes this was common on driving ranges back in the 1960s and 70s, and it got quietly buried under marketing that convinced men our age to buy the exact wrong equipment. Stick with me, because by the end, I am going to hand you a trick I found in a golf ball testing report, one so simple you can do it this weekend with something already in your kitchen, and it adds yards for free. This works for you whether you shoot in the 80s or you slice everything into the trees like I still do on the back nine. So let me walk you through exactly what I found. It started with a number I did not want to look at, a launch monitor. My local shop had one of those radar boxes, and a younger fellow talked me into hitting a dozen drives on it just to see my data. I did not want to see my data, but I stepped up and the screen flashed my clubhead speed, 78 miles per hour. Now, I did not know if that was good or bad, so I asked. And the kid, bless him, was honest. He told me that in my 20s and 30s, a healthy man swings the driver somewhere around 95 to 100 miles per hour. By the time we hit our 60s, most of us have dropped to the high 70s or low 80s. By 70, plenty of men are swinging in the low 70s. That is not a small drop. That is a 15 to 20% loss in the speed that launches the ball. And here's the part that stopped me cold. Nobody had ever told me that the ball I was playing was built for a swing speed I lost 15 years ago. Think about that. I was standing there, disappointed in my body, ready to blame my age and my knees and my shoulder, when the actual problem was sitting in my bag in a shiny box I paid nearly $50 for. Because a golf ball is not just a golf ball, it is a spring. And a spring only works if you hit it hard enough to squeeze it. I did not understand that yet. But that 78 on the screen was the first thread, and when I pulled it, the whole thing unraveled. So I went home and I started digging. And that is where the real story begins. Here is the setup that changed everything for me. Every golf ball has a hidden number stamped nowhere on the box, and if that number does not match your swing, you are throwing distance in the trash on every single shot. That number is called compression. Let me explain it the way I finally understood it, because when I first heard the word I nearly clicked away too. A golf ball has a core, and that core is designed to squash flat against the club face for a fraction of a second, then explode back into shape and fling itself off the tee. That squash is where your distance comes from. The harder the core, the more clubhead speed you need to fully compress it. Compression is rated on a scale. A firm tour ball sits up around 90 or higher. A soft, low compression ball can be down in the 30s or 40s. And here's the rule the launch monitor kid finally spelled out for me. If your swing speed is under about 85 miles per hour, you cannot fully compress a high compression ball. You are hitting a rock. It never springs back for you. You leave distance on the tee every time. I want to give you the history here, because this is not some new gimmick. In 1898, a man named Coburn Haskell, working with a fellow from the B.F. Goodrich Company, invented the rubber core golf ball. Before that, golfers played a solid ball of dried tree sap called the gutta percha. Haskell's rubber wound ball flew farther because it compressed and rebounded. It was such an advantage that by the early 1900s, everyone who wanted distance switched to it. The entire idea of a golf ball as a spring goes back over a century. This is not new science. It is old, proven, and forgotten. So I tested it on myself. I bought 3 sleeves of balls. One was the premium tour ball I always played, compression around 90. One was a mid-compression ball around 60. And one was a soft ball rated near the mid-30s. the kind I always sneered at because I thought soft meant weak, meant a beginner's ball, meant giving up. I went to the range with the launch monitor, same driver, same swing. I hit 10 balls with each, and I wrote the numbers down like a man checking his own pulse. The tour ball carried the shortest. The soft, low compression ball carried the longest by an average of 19 yards. 19 yards. Off a ball that cost me less than half what the fancy one did, I stood there staring at my own handwriting. I had spent years and hundreds of dollars playing a ball that was actively costing me distance because I was too proud to hit the soft one. But here is what bothered me, and it is the thing that pulled me deeper. If this is a 100-year-old idea, and if the fix is so obvious once you see the numbers, then why had no one ever told me? Why did every ad, every display, every friend at the club push me toward the expensive ball? Because once I understood compression, I started paying attention to how these balls get sold. And what I found is that the golf industry makes its biggest profit on the premium tour ball. That $50 box of a dozen is the crown jewel of the whole business. Those balls are engineered genuinely for professional players and low handicap amateurs who swing over 100 miles per hour. For those players, that firm ball is a marvel. It spins beautifully around the greens and it holds its line in the wind. I am not here to tell you it is a bad ball. I am telling you it is the wrong ball for the man it gets marketed to hardest. And who gets marketed to hardest? Us. Men in our 60s and 70s with money to spend and a lifetime of loyalty to a brand name, we see our heroes on television playing that ball, and we want to play what the champions play. That desire is worth a fortune to them. The marketing never mentions swing speed. It never mentions compression. It shows you a professional draining a putt and lets you fill in the rest. I sat with that for a while because I felt like a fool. I had been paying a premium for the privilege of hitting it shorter. But feeling like a fool is not useful. Getting the yards back is useful. So I want to walk you through exactly how to find your own right ball, because it is simpler than the industry ever wants you to believe. First, you need a rough idea of your swing speed, and you do not need to buy a launch monitor. Here is the shortcut I used before I ever set foot in that shop. Look at how far you carry a smooth 7-iron. If you carry a 7-iron around 140 yards, your driver swing speed is likely somewhere in the low 80s. If you carry it around 130, you are probably in the high 70s. If you carry it 120 or less, you are likely in the low 70s. It is not perfect, but it is close enough to point you at the right ball. Second, the rule of thumb that finally made sense of the whole shelf. If your driver's swing speed is under about 85 miles per hour, and for most men over 60 it is, you want a low compression ball, something rated in the 40 to 60 range. If you are under 75 miles per hour, go even softer, down in the 30s and 40s. Your slower swing needs a softer spring so it can actually compress it and get the rebound. Now here is where it gets practical. And I want to be specific, because vague advice is worthless. When I ran my own testing and read through independent reviews from the folks who robotically test these things, a handful of low compression balls kept rising to the top for slower swings, and none of them cost anywhere near the tour price. The soft balls in the mid-30s to low 40s compression range consistently gave slower swingers the longest carry and the straightest flight. There is a well-known soft ball rated right around the mid-30s that testers have called one of the softest on the market for years. There is another soft one from a major brand sitting in the upper 30s that slower swingers rave about. And there is a firmer feeling but still senior-friendly option in the 60 range for men who still swing in the low 80s and want a touch more control around the greens. The point is not the brand name. The point is the number behind it. Match the compression to your swing speed, and you get yards back that you thought your age had stolen forever. Now, I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, because I thought it too. You are thinking this is fine for a guy who has a fancy shop with a launch monitor down the road, or a guy with money to buy 3 sleeves of balls just to experiment. You are thinking, I just play my weekend round with whatever is in the bag, and I am not about to turn golf into a science project. I hear you. So let me give you the version that costs you nothing and takes one round to do. You already own everything you need for this. Next time you play, do not buy anything. Just look in your bag in your garage for the odd balls you have collected over the years. Every golfer over 60 has a drawer full of mismatched balls, gifts, range finds, sleeves from a scramble 3 years ago. Find the softest one you own. The word soft or the word super soft is usually printed right on it. If it does not say soft, the plain, cheaper two-piece balls are almost always lower compression than the premium ones. Play one hole with your usual ball and note where your drive lands. Next hole, tee up the softest ball you can find and swing exactly the same. Do that back and forth for a few holes. You do not need a radar box. Your own eyes on the fairway will tell you the story the same way mine did. That is a free experiment you can run this Saturday with balls you already own, no purchase, no appointment, no shop. That question is where this stops being a golf story and starts being something that honestly made me angry. If you have found yourself asking that same question, why does nobody just hand you this stuff straight, then I think you would get a lot out of my book. It is called First Wins, and it is part of a fuller system I put together called Sharp Habits and the Full System. The whole thing is built around the practical knowledge that got quietly buried under marketing aimed at men exactly like us and how to take it back, step by step, without spending a fortune doing it. You will find the details in the description below. Now, back to the shelf, and what I found when I started paying attention to how these balls actually get sold. And if you play alone or with forgiving friends, drop 2 balls on a wide open hole, one firm and one soft, hit both, and go compare where they came to rest. When you see that soft ball sitting 15 or 20 yards ahead, you will never look at the premium box the same way again. I promise you that. That simple test is what turned me from a skeptic into a believer, and it did not cost me a dime. But even after I switched to the right ball, there was one more piece I had not cracked, because some mornings that soft ball still came up short, and other mornings it flew. Same ball, same swing. And that inconsistency is what led me to the strangest, best discovery of the whole journey. Here is the setup, and I want you to lean in because this is the one almost nobody knows. 2 identical golf balls, same brand, same compression, can fly completely different distances on the same day depending on one thing you would never think to check: their temperature. I stumbled onto this in the most ordinary way. I keep my golf clubs in a box of balls out in the garage because that is where the clubs live. One cold spring morning, I grabbed a ball straight from that cold garage box and teed off, and I was short all day. A week later, warmer weather, I played great. I chalked it up to feeling loose. But the engineer part of my brain would not let it go, so I went looking, and what I found in the ball testing research floored me. A golf ball is, as I said, a spring made of rubber, and rubber is temperature sensitive. When a ball is cold, the core stiffens. It gets harder to compress, and it does not rebound with the same energy. When a ball is warm, the rubber is livelier, it compresses easier, and springs back harder. For a slow swing senior who is already fighting to compress the ball, a cold ball is a disaster. It is like taking your already too firm ball and making it firmer. The numbers on this are real, and they are not small. Independent golf ball testing and university physics studies on the coefficient of restitution, which is just the fancy term for how much bounce a ball keeps, have found that a golf ball can lose roughly 2 yards of carry for every 10 degrees the ball drops in temperature. Some robot testing has shown a ball chilled down near freezing, losing 5, 10, even more yards compared to the same ball at a warm room temperature. For those of us who play in the cool morning air of spring and fall, that is enormous. That is the difference between reaching the green and coming up in the bunker, and we blame our swing every time. Now here is the beautiful part, the part that goes all the way back to the old timers. Golfers in the 1950s and 60s knew this. My research kept turning up references to players keeping a spare ball in a trouser pocket on cold days, close to the body, so it stayed warm. Caddies used to hand a player a warm ball off the next tee. This was common knowledge on cold courses. It got forgotten because modern golf sold us on gadgets and premium balls instead of the simple habit our fathers and grandfathers used for free. And there is a wrinkle here that proves how real this effect is. The people who write the rules of golf actually banned it in one form. Under the rules, you are not allowed to use an artificial device, like a heater or a warmer, to deliberately warm your golf ball during a round. Think about that. They would not bother writing a rule against warming a ball if warming a ball did not work. The rule itself is the proof. The advantage is so real they had to outlaw the powered version of it. But, and this is the trick I promised you, you are completely free to start your round with warm balls and to keep your spare balls warm in your pocket between holes. The rule bans devices during play. It does not ban you starting warm. So here is exactly what I do now, and it is the simplest thing in the world. The night before a cool weather round, I bring my golf balls inside from the cold garage and I set them near a warm spot in the kitchen, away from any open flame, just somewhere room temperature or a touch warmer. In the morning, I put 3 or 4 of them in an inside coat pocket, close to my body, and they ride there warm until I need them. I rotate them, I tee up a warm one, and the ones I am not using stay warm in my pocket against my body heat. That is it. That is the whole secret. And on a cool morning, that alone gave me back several yards on top of everything I gained from the right ball. Combine the two, the right low compression ball matched to my slower swing, and that same ball kept warm, and I was out driving my 60-year-old self by more than 20 yards without touching my swing. Let me put the whole picture together for you, because when I saw it all at once, it honestly made me a little emotional. I had spent years believing my distance was gone forever. That age had simply taken it, and I had to accept the short game of an old man. That was never true. The distance was there the whole time. It was locked away behind 2 things nobody bothered to tell me: a ball too firm for my swing and a ball too cold to spring. Both problems were invented by convenience and marketing. We were sold firm premium balls we could not compress, and we were sold the idea that a golf ball is a set-it-and-forget-it thing you toss in a garage and grab on your way out the door. The old knowledge, matching the ball to the player and keeping it warm, was common on ranges and in caddy yards 70 years ago, and it quietly vanished under a mountain of advertising that made us feel like real golfers played the expensive rock. I want to be very clear about how little this costs you to fix, because that is the whole point of everything I do. A dozen low compression balls suited to a senior swing can be had for a fraction of the tour price, often $20 to $25 a dozen instead of $50. Warming them costs you nothing but the thought of bringing them inside the night before. There is no gadget to buy, no lesson to book, no new driver at $600 that the shop swears will change your life. You already have the swing, you just needed the right ball at the right temperature. Let me give you the full checklist the way I wish someone had given it to me 2 years ago, so you can walk out and do this without rereading anything. Start by estimating your swing speed from your 7-iron carry. Around 140 yards means low 80s. Around 130 means high 70s. 120 or less means low 70s. You do not need a machine. Then match your ball. Under 85 miles per hour, play a low compression ball in the 40 to 60 range. Under 75, go softer still, into the 30s. Look for the word soft on the box and ignore the professional's name on the premium box, because that ball was never built for your swing. Then run the free test. Grab the softest ball in your garage drawer and play it against your usual ball for a few holes. Let your own eyes on the fairway settle the argument. And then, on any cool day, warm your balls the night before, carry your spares against your body, and tee up a warm one every time. That is the piece that even the guys who know about compression usually miss. I did all of this in that order, and the game I thought I had lost came back to me. Not because I got younger, because I stopped playing equipment designed to make me pay more and hit it shorter. There is something I keep coming back to, standing on that first tee now. For years, I thought the shrinking numbers were a message from my body, telling me my best golf was behind me. It turned out the numbers were a message about a golf ball, not about me. And I nearly accepted a smaller life on the course because no one handed me a 100-year-old fact that fit in one sentence. A golf ball is a spring, and a spring only works if it fits the hand that squeezes it and stays warm enough to snap back. The morning I first carried warm, low-compression balls in my coat pocket and watched my drive sail past my old landing spot, I actually laughed out loud on the tee box. My playing partner asked what was funny. I told him I had just gotten 20 yards back from a drawer of forgotten balls in a warm pocket. He did not believe me. 2 weeks later, he was doing the exact same thing. So here is what I want you to feel, not just know. You did not lose those yards to age. They were taken from you by people who profited from you, never asking why the ball you were sold did not fit the swing you have, and you just took them back for less money than you were spending before. If you are the kind of person who has always suspected that the simple, cheap way our fathers did things worked better than the expensive way we were taught to replace it, then you and I think alike, and this channel is where you belong. Now I need one thing from you, and I mean this directly, because I know this crowd reads and nods and moves on without saying a word. Do not do that today. Tell me in the comments what your 7-iron carry is, and I will tell you roughly what swing speed that puts you at and what compression you should be playing. That is a real offer. Type the number. If you have ever played a softball and noticed it going farther, or if you have ever kept a ball warm in your pocket on a cold day, put that in the comments too, because the men reading this need to hear it from someone besides me. And if you want the rest of what got buried, subscribe and stay with me, because this is a movement of people quietly taking back the practical knowledge that got sold off from under us. In my next one, I am breaking down the single change to your tee height that adds carry for slow swings, the one adjustment that costs nothing and that the equipment makers would very much prefer you never figure out on your own. It is even simpler than the warm ball, and it might be worth more. I will see you there. Let me pick up right where we stopped. Inside the Old Ways circle, I show you the deeper version of this. And you can ask me your own question. And I answer you myself, a real person, not a machine. Old Ways folks like you are already in there with me. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime with one click.